to be wanting to be turning on. So today we focus on the third of 13 attributes of loving kindness from this book, The Sacred Art of Loving Kindness, by Rabbi Ronnie Shapiro. This is the bookstore's last copy, but she can certainly order one for you if you want. The thing I really love about this book is that it not only talks about the importance of loving kindness in our lives and in the world, but it gives practices after each chapter to kind of take us where it's leading us. And so today we talk about divine creativity. 2 weeks ago we talked about the first two attributes, which are recognizing the divine in ourselves and recognizing the divine in the other. And recognizing that we are each born in the image and likeness of the one. And so creativity is one facet of that divine manifestation that is each of us. And it's not creativity in the normal sense of things, the way we normally use the word. It's not creativity in terms of singing and dancing and painting and making things and writing or anything like that. Those are all creative acts, but this is the creativity that comes from recognizing that you are and I am, that each one of us is, in fact, spirit as creative force. We are each the creative act, the ongoing creative act of God, Spirit, Allah, the universal intelligence, the field of infinite possibility, whatever name you wish to call it. We are each the ongoing creative act of that. We're not a creation. We're not merely creative. We are an ongoing spiritual creative act. And so everything arises new all the time. Everything that arises out of this field of infinite creativity and possibility is brand new. I'm brand new. You're brand new. Everything we do is brand new. Each one of us is completely unique and has never been before and will never be again. And so this is the creativity that we're talking about. And there can be, in every word we speak, and in every act we do, there can be something brand new if we choose. Or we can choose to act from all the old junk we're carrying around, all the old habits of thinking, all the old things we were taught by our parents and our society and our school and our church and all of those kinds of things. We can either create a new manifestation or we can reinforce the old. And we do so many things through the force of habit from our old stuff, don't we? How many of you drive the same way home from work all the time? Right? I do all the time. I put it on autopilot and all of a sudden I'm home and I don't know how I got there, right? I don't remember the drive. Or get out of bed and do things in exactly the same order. The coffee has to come at this time or I'm lost, you know? And we do lots of things that way. The way we pick a group of people and label them and pigeonhole them is another thing we do by rote. It's automatic behavior. We could do all that differently, and in fact I urge you to do it differently. I urge you to take a new way to work tomorrow and another new way on Tuesday. I urge you to vary your routine in the morning. If you always put your socks on next to last, put them on first for a change. Do something different. Change it up. Change it up. Because changing up those little routines lets us change up the really big things, the really big important things that we do by rote as well. For example, if you are white, you have in your thinking some vestiges of racism, even if you think you don't. If you are a person of color, there are certain behaviors that you expect somewhere in your psyche, you expect from white people, even if you think you don't. If you're a straight person, you have vestiges of homophobia, even if you think you don't. If you are a gay person or a lesbian person, you have a certain range of behavior you expect from straight people, even if you think you don't. Because it's stuff we're stewed in, and we have done it for survival. It's a genetic thing that, let us say, when we were, barely people, barely human, Neanderthal, not like me. Because the whole point, they think, is that we ate the Neanderthals, we cannibalized them out of existence, early Homo sapiens. But it was also woolly mammoth, not like me, and saber-toothed tiger, not like me. We needed to know that, you know what I mean? We needed to know that they were different from us. But we do it with everything and everybody. These people are not like me. And so we pigeonhole them in a place in our minds. And we forget that we are, in fact, the ongoing, eternal, creative act of God. Because once we do that, once we realize and remember that about ourselves, those old labels, they don't fit anymore. We can't use them anymore. The very remembering the truth of ourselves sort of blows the use of those labels right out of the water. When we realize our own sacred creativity, that we are the sacred creativity of the universe, it just lifts us out of the bounds of our usual life, and it lifts us out of the bounds of labels of race or creed or color or origin or sexual orientation or anything else, any other label we might use. We're lifted past that, away from it. And we have this new focus on life, realizing that it's new every moment. Life is new every moment. It kind of breaks us down a little bit at a time. It breaks down first the way we see ourselves, and then it breaks down the way we see other people. Then it starts to break down the way we see the rest of the life on the planet. It breaks us down because it's only breaking down those habituated ways of thinking that lets the new come in, that lets us even perceive it's all new, that we're all new, that everyone in our lives is a new act of creativity. So we get this fresh sense of life when we begin to be broken down by this realization. Because without allowing ourselves to be broken down that way, we might do creative things. We might write or speak or sing or play music or draw, but we do it from what I call ego and what the rabbi calls narrow mind. We do it from a place that sees it as an achievement that we did this thing rather than as a gift to us and through us to the whole universe. We tend to think of ourselves as, we are demonstrating our talent by doing this thing, instead of just being the divine creative act that we are. Instead of just allowing ourselves to see from this expanded viewpoint that the rabbi calls spacious mind. And it's an interesting thing because this sacred creativity celebrates the truth that we are each something new, something never created before. We are each something original and something unique. And at the same time requires us to sort of sidestep the ego that says, I'm special and unique. You know the difference? The difference is realizing and living from your uniqueness as opposed to the ego that says, of course I'm unique and special. It's one of those paradoxical things we walk through in this life. And so how do we hold the paradox so that it works? We hold the paradox in a sacred way, from a sacred spot of remembering and honoring the fact that there is now and will only ever be one of me. There is and will ever only be one of you. Every single one of us is unique. If we weren't, there wouldn't be any point in us being here, right? This is all God expanding and exploring and experiencing itself. And so each one of us is absolutely essential and unique and precious and will never be repeated. I think you can feel and sense that more than think about it. There's really only one of us. As Ernest Holmes, our founder, said, no two blades of grass are the same. And so what does that mean in a spiritual sense? It means that incarnated within each one of us, it's not just a divine spark, not only an incarnation of the living spirit of the cosmos, but a unique presentation of the cosmic whole. the cosmic whole, all of it. This means that the one ultimate cause, he said, presses against all individualizations, flowing through it or him or her, so that every event in the finite has an infinite possibility behind it. Wow, everything we do, everything is one choice out of an infinite possibility. So why would we want to choose something we'd never done before? Why would we want to choose from the rote to do it just the way we did it the last time, if there is behind every act in our finite lives infinite possibility? Wow, that just amazes me. Every single thing in the world is new, and every single person is new. And so everything is called upon to fulfill, if you will, by living from its uniqueness. We're here to be totally who we are, totally, completely. Martin Buber said, he was the one who came up with the I-thou relationship with the divine that sometimes we here feel is lacking because we get stuck in our heads, but it's always there, I-thou. Martin Buber said, every person's foremost task is the actualization of the unique, unprecedented, and never recurring potentialities of himself or herself, and not the repetition of something that another, even the greatest, has already achieved. So we're here to express this unique set of potentialities. There's an old Jewish teaching story that I really love about a rabbi named Zuzia. And he was a great teacher, and every day the students came to the teaching hall to learn from Rabbi Zuzia. And one day they all got there and he wasn't there. And he didn't show up. By noon they knew something was wrong, and by evening they knew something was really wrong. So they ran to Rabbi Zuzia's house and they knocked on the door and they got no answer. So they knocked louder and they looked in the windows and they knocked and knocked and knocked, and finally they heard a voice saying, Shalom Aleichem, peace and blessings, come in. The students went in and found Rabbi Zuzia in his bed, unable to get up. He was so sick. And they said, Rabbi Zuzia, what's the matter? What can we do to help you? And he said, you can't help me. There's nothing you can do. I'm dying and I'm very frightened. And one of the students says, why are you frightened? Didn't you teach us that everything has to die? And the rabbi said, of course, everything has to come to its end in this life. That's not why I'm afraid. And the student said, why are you afraid then? You have lived a holy life. You have had faith as strong as Abraham's, and you've obeyed the commandments as well as Moses did. And Rabbi Zuzia said, this is not why I'm afraid. When I die, if God asks me, why were you not more like Moses? I can say, well, I'm not Moses. If God says, why were you not more like Abraham? I can say, I'm not Abraham. But what am I to say when God says, reminds me of those moments when I did not act like Zuzia? You know? What do I say to God then? When I wasn't myself? Yep, many of you know how I feel about the Bible, and that is that it is a set of teaching stories with a little poetry and a little history and a little genealogy thrown in. The teaching stories, the wisdom stories, are about us, each one of us. And the way to understand it is to put yourself in the role of the central character. And so in the book of Genesis, God calls Abram, later Abraham, but Abram, and said, go forth, leave where you are and go forth. Actually, the Hebrew is lech lecha, and that translates really to walk toward yourself. So God was saying to Abram, walk toward yourself. He's saying to each one of us, walk toward yourself. Free yourself from the bounds of tribe and culture and acculturation and religion and society and nationality, and see the world as it has been created, as you were created, with this spacious mind and this creativity that is uniquely yours. This creativity that flows from the divine heart through you and your heart. And this is a really radical call. It's a really radical call to each one of us because it basically says, let go. Let go of what you thought you were. Let go of what you thought your life was. Let go of what you thought other people were, and open your eyes and look and see something new all the time. Something new. Embrace life as it happens to you, as part of the creative act that you are. In the Gospel of Thomas, which is one of the Nag Hammadi Gospels, buried for, I don't know, let's see, what's 1956 minus 100? 1,946 years. No, 1,856 years. A lot of years. They were buried in Egypt, and then they were found. And in the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says, if you bring forth that which is within you, that which is within you will save you. But if you do not bring forth that which is within you, that which is within you will destroy you. And I think what he's talking about is this unique, holy creation, creative act that each one of us is. If we just do what other people do, even the greatest, remember, it's not us. It's not who we are. We are not living as that creative act. If we can look at the world from that self-spacious mind, then we begin to see it as the manifestation of God everywhere, the manifestation of Spirit's ongoing creativity. And this is what, in the same gospel, the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus called the kingdom of God. And his disciples said, where is it? And he said, well, it's not over there, and it's not over there. It is spread out across the earth, but people just can't see it because they're looking from this little narrow mind. But when spacious mind is there, you can see it. It's everywhere. It is this moment as it's happening. And when we experience it that way, we're no longer trapped by that illusion that we're separate from each other, separate from Spirit, separate from anything. We step out of the narrow mind into this place where we see the unity of all life, of all creation. And the way that we get there, one of the best ways, is through meditation, which is simply focusing on something. The breath, a mantra, a candle flame, focusing on something. When we focus, we see that the narrow mind cannot stand it. It can't stand that we're not obeying it. So it's like a skeet shoot machine, you know? It's checking up thoughts right and left. And what we usually do is blast them out of the sky. But as we sit there and notice that these thoughts are just going like crazy, we realize we don't have to do that. We don't have to shoot them out of the sky. We don't have to pay any attention to them. We don't have to follow them. We don't have to get mad at them. We can just let them go. And the narrow mind will just keep throwing them as long as we're willing to let it. As a matter of fact, it keeps going as long as we're alive, because that's the brain's job, to think. So it thinks about, oh look, a chicken. I mean, it thinks about anything and everything all the time, and it just keeps throwing up thoughts. And so, you know, when we're in meditation and we realize that, we just gently go back to the breath, and over time we begin to realize that this chaos that's happening in our heads is what we're really conditioned to. Chaos. It's kind of no wonder life doesn't feel peaceful and joyful and sometimes appears to lack ease and grace. There's chaos going on in there. And if we are conditioned to it and follow it, we experience a lot of chaos. But this sense of sacred, holy creativity arises when we just cease being disturbed by the chaos and understand that its background is just going to keep going on. And if we can be in spacious mind, what we experience is not the chaos, but the peace. And what we experience is not the craziness, but the absolute unity of life. And what we experience is not uptightness, but tranquility. And it's not pigeonholing, it's compassion for everyone and everything. We don't have to follow those thoughts. All we have to do is notice that we're thinking and return to whatever it is that we're focusing on. Oh, and it's good to keep a sense of humor, because then you can, when that thought about your mom or your spouse or your teacher or your parent or whatever comes up for the 7,000th time today, you can laugh at it. It helps to have a little sense of humor because it is amazing. The same thoughts keep coming and coming and coming. And if you just let them, they keep going. It shall come to pass. That means it didn't come to stay, it came to pass. And so you just let it pass. And the more we watch, the more we watch our breath and watch these thoughts rise and fall and rise and fall and rise and fall, the more we're allowing that holy creativity to manifest itself in us and through us. And we meet each moment fresh instead of experiencing what's already happened or holding out to experience what we anticipate. We just meet it fresh. We meet it right there with an open heart. And so we do experience ease and grace and love and joy. And we're connected with that place that wants us to choose from the sacred, from the compassionate, from the loving, and from the kind, and from the open-hearted place within us, rather than choosing by rote, rather than choosing what the ego might think we ought to choose to protect ourselves, or rather than choosing what our best friend chose, or our mom chose, or anybody else chose. We're there, fresh and alive and choosing moment by moment by moment. And I think that's what it is to experience divine creativity as your life, as it flows through us and as us, and as we experience the gift of ourselves and the gift that we are to the world. And it's a really, really powerful, powerful thing, this divine creativity. It's the thing that lets us choose the life that we want to live, and lets us interact with people in the way that we want to, and lets us choose every moment to keep our heart open instead of closing it down. That's what it means to be the creative act of spirit. So I invite you now to just allow these thoughts and this feeling of standing at the edge of something new to fall deeply into your consciousness, into that place that is the dwelling place of God itself within you. It is the place of peace that passes understanding. It is the place of wholeness and health and beauty and joy and light. The spark, more than the spark, it is actually the entirety of the cosmos living right inside of you and right inside of me and right inside of all of us. Knowing that that is the truth of who we are, that each one of us is a creative act, eternal and ongoing and ever new. I know that each one of us lets go a little bit more of the past that we carry around and embraces with an open heart this new thing that is happening in our lives, this new thing called us in this moment. Approaching life with a fresh, new vision and a fresh, new feeling, not only of faith, but beyond faith, of joy, of anticipation, of compassion for ourselves and others, of love, of infinite vision, of a glimpse of that infinite stream of possibility that is each moment. Knowing this for each one of us, I just say thank you. I give thanks to that creative spirit that lives in and as me. I give thanks for this day of celebration, for this community and everyone in it, and for life itself, this amazing bunch of paradoxes that we balance and walk with on this entire path called human life. Thank you for all of it. And from this place of gratitude, I just let go, knowing that it is God moving through me as my life, all the time. And that the same is true for each one here. Thank you, God. And to acknowledge and anchor this, we say together, and so it is. Let's sing together. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. How about one more time? You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. And yes, you are. What a nice thing to remember. And we now have the opportunity to invest in our community and in our individual spiritual growth. That it is your contributions and giving that lets us be here for those who are looking for us, as we have been for 67 years this year. Providing this community and the blessing that only community brings of support for one another, of encouragement, all those things we get only from love and spiritual community. And so I invite you to take your gift in your hands or your heart or your mind and simply know with me, my gift goes forth to bless and to prosper.
My gift goes forth to bless and to prosper.
It does its good and perfect work.
It does its good and perfect work.
And returns to me multiplied abundantly.
And returns to me multiplied abundantly.
I am grateful.
I am grateful.
And so it is.